Hi everyone, my name is Desiree Nippard and this video presentation is based on my Assignment 3 project for Dr. Robert Power at Cape Breton University. The assignment was called Making Digital Material Meaningful, the Value of Connectivism in Online Learning Environments. And today we're going to focus on the literature review component of that assignment. So before we talk about the value of connectivism in online learning environments, we first need to understand what connectivism is. So in a nutshell, when we have technology and socialization when in an online learning environment, we end up having connected practical learning for our students. Siemens in 2006 said that connectivism was a conceptual framework which views learning as a network phenomenon influenced by technology and socialization, which are the two main components of connectivism. A year later, Downs said that in connectivism, there was no real transferring of knowledge, such as a didactic teaching method. However, it helped us to have more learning networks and develop our students into social learners that relied upon the social networks that they were already a part of. The key concepts of connectivism are here illustrated in this infographic. If we start at our top right corner, we have our learning content, our learning context, our learning technologies, and our learners as nodes. So when we talk about employing connectivism in online learning environments, we're helping our learners build their networks in which they can learn from. We're using social networks as educational resources instead of shunning them like we usually do in traditional classrooms. And we're also making sure that we're using technology to our advantage and we're learning through technology. If we compare physical classrooms and virtual classrooms, we can see why connectivism is a theory that works very well for virtual classrooms. So on our left column, we can see that a physical classroom relies kind of often on didactic teaching methods. Physical resources can take precedence. We have a lack of global connection as well as interaction because we have our students in a brick and mortar school. When we shift to a virtual classroom, we are encouraging social networks. We have global resources at our fingertips. We can help to create autonomous, creative learners. And when we use connectivism, we can make sure that our modern learners are engaged at all times. So Reese in 2015, who is a big supporter of connectivism, said that online learning creates a recipe of circumstances that can accommodate learners of the 21st century and their need for collaboration, creation, and construction. So by employing connectivism in a virtual classroom, we can make sure that we're making the most of these learning experiences for our students. When we talk about connectivism and online learning, we're really talking about making sure that students have deeper learning opportunities, and we're doing that through optimizing on the capabilities of the technology that we're using to teach and learn from. When we shift into digital learning, we need to make sure that we are discovering and solidifying what learning theory is best suited. So Banahashim, Kazim, and Ali Abadi in 2017 talked about the rich networks that can form by optimizing connectivism in online learning environments. Additionally, in 2015, they said that distance education has the potential to set high standards for valuable learning experiences, and that connectivism should be the driving theory for learning and instruction. So by optimizing on the value of connectivism as a learning theory, when we shift to online learning, we can make sure that we're doing so in a way that makes the material meaningful, educational, and deep for our learners. Abel, Kane, Chenyan, and Corey in 2016 performed a study in their course that had students list their learning preferences in the online courses that they were taking. As we can see this in this infographic on our left-hand side, the green bar in the middle is the student rating of the importance of social interaction on their learning experience. So connectivism is a theory that really enhances and optimizes on social interaction for learning. So when we make sure that we employ social interaction in our learning, we're helping students to get the most out of their educational experience. So when we shift online, as many of us have in this last 2 years during the global pandemic, we have been transitioning into a new way of learning. When we optimize on connectivism and making sure that social networking and technology is a big proponent of our courses online, we're making sure that our material is engaging for our students. So not only are they learning for the sake of learning, but when there's social interaction at play, as it is with connectivist learning, when we optimize on these social networks that we're using, then students are likely to be more engaged and probably intrinsically motivated to learn the material in the course. So let's talk for a second about the value of connectivity as a whole. Students need to learn how to navigate the digital world in a positive and impactful way. This generation of students that are sitting in our classrooms right now are the first generation that are digital global citizens. They're connected to the world around them always. So we need to make sure that the way in which that they communicate and use the technology at their fingertips is positive. So when we use connectivity as a learning resource in our online learning worlds, we're making sure that they understand that learning can happen all around them and they're seeing the positive impacts of these things. So connectivity also means that learning is kind of broadened. So Goldie in 2016 said that creating online communities using social media promotes connectivity. And Bell in 2011 talked about how we're going to push the boundary of education so that informal learning areas are optimized. So when we use connectivity as a learning theory, our students can see that learning doesn't only have to occur in brick and mortar schools, but it's all around us all the time. When we talk about employing social networks as educational tools, a lot of teachers will turn their heads and say, I'm not getting into that. However, Alazane in 2019 conducted a study in his educational technology course, and he noticed that there was a positive relationship between social networking for a course and success and positive attitudes towards the course in the end. And he done this through some different surveys and stuff with the students. So when we employ social networks and acknowledging their significance and impact in learning, we can make sure that engagement and interest in our courses and our course content is superior to what we would use in traditional classrooms. As with all learning theories, of course, connectivism has some criticisms, the main of which is, as Matar in 2018 stated, was that connectivism is much better suited for MOOCs and online learning courses, so it wouldn't translate well if we were following, say, a hybrid model and going in and out of in-class learning as well as online, so it is best suited to online learning environments. And a group of researchers in 2013, when they implemented connectivism in their course, they found it difficult to fully embed themselves in the connectivist theory without also bringing in components of other learning theories such as behaviorism and cognitive theory as well. So it's difficult to fully employ without kind of muddying the water of connectivism. So lastly, before we jump into our summary, what we're talking about here today is being able to grow the virtual classroom repertoire. When teachers have been asked to switch to online learning, we want to be able to say that we have some knowledge base of what theory works best there. So online learning doesn't need to be viewed as a second choice option when physical learning is not available. When we employ connectivism into our classrooms, we can make sure that our online learning is equal to physical learning because we have students making the most of their social networks and the technology in front of them, and it can become very meaningful educational experiences. In summary, the impact of connectivism, while it relates solely to the enhancement of engagement, we also see students partake in meaningful education experiences because they're becoming autonomous, creative learners who can explore their own social networks to help them learn in more impactful ways. We can see it as a beneficial teaching strategy as we move from traditional classrooms to focusing in more online learning avenues. Connectivism also meets the needs of MOOCs, higher level education, especially as many different pieces of research say, and institutes who rely on online learning, such as our K-12 schools as of late. And connectivism also provides teachers with a working learning theory to guide them as they transition into online learning. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I'd love to hear your comments about connectivism, and you can pick apart this as you wish. Here are my references, and feel free to pause if you'd like to have a deeper look at them. Thank you so much.